Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Peter Larson, and I am the chair of the Ottawa Forum on Israel-Palestine. And this is another of our educational series on Israel-Palestine for those who are interested in learning more about the issue. Today's webinar is about the issue of apartheid, in particular, focusing on why it is that Amnesty International says that Israel itself is an apartheid state. And we're going to explore this with Sami Abu Shehada, who is a Palestinian citizen of Israel. Sami is the former member of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and he's the current leader of the Balad party in Israel. The agenda for today is pretty simple. We're starting right at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I will do a little bit of background and a little bit of introductions. Then I will interview Sami for about half an hour, 45 minutes, asking him some tough questions, I hope, on this issue. And then we'll be open to questions and answers from the audience, and then we will adjourn at 2:45. One thing I would want to flag for you is that if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. I'll be looking at the Q&A. I've opened up the chat, so anybody who wants to chat can do so. And you can share your views with either with the panelists or with each other, that's fine. But I will only be able to monitor the Q&A session. Before I move on to introducing today's topic, I want to draw your attention to our next webinar, which will be held on February 23rd. And it's on the issue of whether it's fair to call Israel a settler colonial state. This is an issue that's come up in the last couple of years in academia, and now it's starting to become a bit more widespread. This will be set up as a debate amongst two members of the OFIP Advisory Council. Michael Seguin is a professor at St. Paul's University. Arthur Milner is a Canadian author and playwright. Michael thinks that, yes, it is very appropriate and useful to call Israel a settler colonial state, and he'll just try to describe why. And Arthur Milner, who is not so sure. Arthur will say no, he's not sure that it's a useful, it's not appropriate, nor that it's useful. So it'll be an interesting discussion, and we'll try to hear two sides of that particular argument. So as background to today's discussion, I come back to the fact that about a year ago, Amnesty International released a 212-page report with a rather dramatic title. It said, "Israel's apartheid against Palestinians is a cruel system of domination and a crime against humanity." And as I read through this substantial report, it struck me that there were three things in particular that were quite relevant to it and I knew. First of all, of course, it's the fact that Palestinians have for years been saying that Israel's an apartheid state, but this time it's non-Palestinians, it's some well-respected international human rights organizations that are making the charge, and so they need to be attended to carefully. The second was actually that it was claimed that Israel enforces a system of domination and oppression against the Palestinian people wherever it has control. This includes Palestinians living inside Israel, and we're going to explore that issue a bit today. And the last issue is that they claim that the system of apartheid actually started in 1948 with the creation of the state of Israel itself. So here are a few of the main conclusions from the Amnesty International report. Since its establishment in 1948, it says, Israel has pursued an explicit policy of establishing and maintaining a Jewish demographic hegemony and maximizing its control over land to the benefit of Jewish Israelis. And the report cites a number of components of that, including territorial fragmentation, segregation, denial of equal rights, use of military rule, disposition of land and property, and so on. And I suggest that anybody who is interested do read the report, or at the very least, read the executive summary. The report further alleges that Israel has imposed a system of oppression and domination over Palestinians wherever it exercises control across Israel and the OPT, and with respect to the Palestinian refugees who are outside. It acknowledges that this apartheid is applied differently in each of the areas of Israel, East Jerusalem, the rest of the West Bank, and so on, but that taken together, the patterns of proscribed acts are perpetuated by Israel and they amount to a crime against crime against humanity under both the Apartheid Convention and the Rome Statute. None of us will be surprised that the reports were vigorously denied by a number of Canadian Jewish organizations. Here's some quotes from CIJA's press release, which said that the report uses unfounded and unsubstantiated smears, that it's an anti-Semitic diatribe that reveals the anti-Semitic line of thinking, and it fabricates apartheid and ethnic cleansing. This, of course, contrasts with what Agnes Callamard, the Secretary General, said, which she said that Israel's policies across all the territories clearly amount to apartheid. Now, many people, including many people on this call today, probably agree that apartheid can be applied fairly easily to describe the situation in the West Bank, but are less clear or convinced that it should be applied to Israel itself. In fact, I often heard people say that Israel may have some discrimination, as do other democracies, but it's not apartheid. In fact, if the word apartheid were to be applied to Israel, it should also be applied to Canada and the United States and Australia and so on, because they too have discrimination. Now, just to remind people where the Palestinians are, you can see on the map, what's in purple on the map here is what Canada recognizes as Israel. And in there, you can see in the red, about 1.7 million Palestinians live, out of maybe 11 or 12 million Palestinians altogether. The rest live in the West Bank or in Gaza or scattered around in refugee camps in Jordan or Syria or Lebanon, or even in the diaspora. I know some Palestinians living in Canada. Israel itself today is a booming high-tech European-type economy. Its GDP per capita is about $32,000 per person, which makes it less than Canada, but kind of on equivalent to Spain or Greece or whatever, a European country. Israel is, of course, a popular tourist demonstration. Its beaches are lovely. There's a picture of the Western Wall or the Wailing Wall. And of course, Israel also has many characteristics of other liberal democratic countries. It has regular elections. It has various political parties, universal suffrage. Every Israeli citizen, whether Palestinian or Israeli, Jewish, gets to vote. It has free public education. The military is under the civilian control. It has freedom of speech and so on. And in fact, I think there's an easy case to be made that it's much more attractive and much closer to the liberal democratic model than is, for example, any of its Arab neighbors, including Jordan or Egypt or Saudi Arabia. Furthermore, the status of the Palestinian citizens of Israel may surprise some people. Israel doesn't really acknowledge them as being Palestinian citizens. It prefers to call them Arab Israelis, but we're talking about the same people. And they are about 20% of the Israeli population. They are citizens of Israel with a passport. You can see a picture of the passport on the right. They have the right to vote. There's universal suffrage. Doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or not Jewish. They are represented in the Knesset. They have state-supplied free education, as I mentioned before. They get to elect their own mayors of their towns and villages. They are eligible for the Supreme Court. Haven't been many elected, but they are eligible. The Palestinian citizens of Israel can and do own their own houses. Arabic is recognized as a special language in Israel. There is religious freedom. There are many mosques in Israel. You travel around Israel, you can see mosques. And in fact, Palestinian citizens of Israel can travel anywhere they want. There are no settler-only roads. And surveys show that Palestinian citizens of Israel would prefer to live in Israel to living in the occupied territories or living in Egypt or whatever. Furthermore, as citizens, Palestinian Israelis can travel wherever they want to go. They can, except of course for military areas and so on. They can shop at the same stores, go to the same beaches, eat in the same restaurants as Jewish Israelis, and go to the same universities. In fact, equality is even baked into the Israeli Declaration of Independence, signed in 1948, which said that Israel will affirm complete social and political equality for all its citizens, regardless of race or religion or gender. So with all that, where's the apartheid? Why would Amnesty International or anyone else claim that Israel is an apartheid? Israel itself is an apartheid state. Is it ignorance? Is it stupidity? Or is a little bit worse? Is it maliciousness or anti-Semitism? And what we're going to do today is we're going to ask a Palestinian citizen of Israel to tell us a bit about his lived reality. The guest I want to introduce today is someone I've known for 5 years or so. Sami Abu Shehada is a Palestinian citizen of Israel. He was raised in Jaffa. He got his PhD in Middle Eastern history at Tel Aviv University. That would mean he, of course, had to study in Hebrew to get his PhD. He served as director of the Jaffa Youth Movement, and then was elected, first of all, to the Tel Aviv-Yafo City Council, representing Jaffa. And in 2019, he was elected to the Knesset. For reasons we'll explore later on, he didn't get reelected. His party did not get reelected in the most recent election. But since 2021, Sami has been chairman of Balad Party, the main non-Zionist party in Israel. So with that, I'd like to welcome Sami, and let's get to work having a conversation. Thank you so much.